It's time for the weekly cover price top 10 list. And at number one, a book that is very easy to find. Let's take a look up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the description. My Instagram's there, my whatnot. We do sales Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. My eBay store, my email. So if you want to contact me, we're going to go through the cover price top 10 list for this week. And for those of you new here, I do this every week. Cover Price is a comic book pricing tool where you can search for the issue that you're interested in. It gives you both graded as well as raw comic book values in terms of recent sales. I'm not exactly sure where they pull from. I know they do pull from eBay and Heritage. I'm not sure if there are others, but it's different than the other major grading tools, GP Analysis and Go Collect, in that they also have raw books, which is important for a lot of books because let's face it, a lot of books aren't worth getting graded and or only grading in a 9.8 and some not even in a 9.8. Is it a $3 book, a $5 book, a $10 book, a $50 book? This can give you a little bit of an idea. It's completely imperfect. So they come out with these weekly lists of the comics that have sold most in the aftermarket in the last week. And it's usually around some sort of movie speculation, or whatever. And that's kind of what drives a lot of these lists. So these are the books that people have been buying. So be careful because you might not want to jump on these books right away because this is what everybody's looking for. So demand is high now, and it may wane in the future. And of course, we know we're just a little more than a week away, 8 days away from Deadpool Wolverine. And I can't wait. I'm so excited for that movie. That's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, let's jump into the list. Coming in at 10 on the list, there was a book that was number one a week ago. It is Proof number one by Alexander Gratian, Riley Rossmo, and Tyler Jenkins. This is an Image book from 2007 that was recently optioned. Now you can see the slabs have not really caught up with the raw books. Raw $100 plus for a near mint. And if we go to, there's no track sales in this grade. There's only, and I don't know if I've updated this since last week. There are only 15 copies on the census. Interestingly, very interestingly, in terms of what's been going on recently, this is a 17-year-old book. It's not a brand new book, 17-year-old book. There are 15 copies on the census. There's a 9.4, 2 9.6s, 10 9.8s, and 2 9.9s. So 2 out of the 15 are 9.9s. That's crazy. So let's take a look at the reasoning for this. Cover Price has their little articles. A new supernatural crime series is coming to Fox and involves an FBI agent partnering with Bigfoot. The two go on missions to protect the world from creatures of myth. It is a fun twist on the buddy cop stories, often described as a cross between Men in Black and the X-Files. The series comes to Fox from writers Corey Goodman and Jeremy Lott, whose previous works on projects like Priest, Underworld, Blood Wars, and Bass Reeves. The premiere issues has generated tons of buzz, landing it on the top 10 list this week after being number one last week. Be careful. Be careful. There are high-grade copies out there, and there are evidently very high-grade copies because they're already 2 9.9s. There are only 15 on the census. That number is going to grow very quickly. Don't jump in with both feet and try to get your copy, don't try to get a 9.8 right away because you're going to overpay, right? Here's a 9.9 for $2,000. Maybe. I would park my $2,000 elsewhere. Let's just say if I had a 9.9 of this, I'd sell it and buy a really nice silver bronze H key. So let's go to number 9 on the list. Spider-Man Reign number 1, the variant edition. This is a really interesting variant. It is by Leslie Larix Lee. It's a 1 in 25, and it's the first appearance of Earth 7237 Kitty Cat and Earth 7237 Miles Morales. I'm assuming the Kitty Cat is a takeoff on Black Cat. I'm not familiar with this storyline. I think I did pre-order this. Did I get this? Yeah. I do have this. I got the A cover last week. So I guess this is the version of the Black Cat. Let's look at the write-up. Many might remember the first iteration of Spider-Man Reign. Its release divided fans, half applauded the storyline with a question of why certain parts, if I remember correctly, they're talking about parts, were included. Radioactive sperm, anyone? It was also the first time Peter's web slinger was put on display in the infamous nude panel of the first issue, which was quickly recalled. This issue brings us back to this world, introducing new characters to the universe. It introduces Kitty Cat, Black Cat's daughter, and the Earth 7237 Miles Morales. In addition to these appearances, this book is also the first cover appearance of Kitty Cat, and is a retailer incentive. In addition to all this, the issue has going on. The cover is also by the often chased cover artist, Lyrics Lee. I think it's an attractive cover, certainly. But what is it selling for? I didn't even look. I was so intrigued by it's selling for, $25. And of course, it's brand new, out last week. So we're not getting any slabs yet. Let's go to number 8. And this is a new book. It is Annihilation 29.9, The Last Nova. It is Pete Wood's first appearance. It's the intro of The Last Nova. I'm assuming Pete Wood's The Last Nova. First team appearance of the Null set and Dracula's Captains. Again, a book from last week. And this, I guess because it's a 1 in 25 and it is an homage to Nova 1. $30-ish for a high-grade copy. And not for nothing. This is one of the things with the Covrprice tools I just will point out. A fine copy. The book came out last week. Unless somebody's selling damaged copies for a discount, I question that. Anyway, let's. I mean, how is a book in fine when it came out last week? And why are you buying it on the internet? I guess if you want to buy it, well, if you're going to buy it for the storyline, just get the cover A for $5, whatever. Let's take a look at the description here. All eyes are on the MCU's repair for not only the MCU film of the year to debut later this month. Even though we only received one movie this year, other projects have continued to make progress. In early March, Marvel confirmed they were still working on the Nova project. Yeah, it's probably right there next to the Blade project. There isn't much known about the project, and nearly all the Nova keys were hot on the aftermarket at some point in the past year. This week, whoopsies. It looks like fans are chasing the latest Nova's debut, The Last Nova. No, sorry. This book is also a retailer incentive, making this key much more desirable. So that is that Pete Wood's first appearance. Is that going to jump into the MCU? I would be a little bit surprised, but MCU sometimes surprises us. We'll talk about that later on in this list. Let's go to number 7, The Authority, number 1. This is a Wildstorm book that got absorbed by DC that premiered back in 1999. $40 to $50 for a high-grade copy, and now we're well over $200 for a 9.8. Let's look at the 9.8 over time. And there are only 421 421 universal copies on the census, only 169 8s. There are more of this book out there. This is the first appearance of the Engineer. I mean, look at this, a $310 sale. I mean, this book just keeps jumping up. And if we look over time, forever, this was a nothing burger, right? Well under $100, pretty much above case cost. Up to $350. I think that predates the news only because it was the comic boom, and then back down to $48. But then the announcement made $550. It's been trending for the most part down ever since, a little jump recently. We know we're getting the Engineer in next year's Superman film. There are other characters. The Authority is still a popular fan theory in the aftermarket. Speculation is that the Authority would debut in James Gunn's upcoming film, Superman. The Engineer has already been cast and confirmed to be in the film. In addition, more and more heroes are popping up in the film. This past week, we saw a leak of set photo featuring Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl. With so many additional heroes making their appearance, the rumors that Superman be facing a team of adversaries instead of a singular villain are sounding more reasonable. We'll see. I think this is still, right now, a really good key. The one thing is individual members of the Authority, other than the Engineer, and this was not like DC proper, so I'm not as familiar with the authority as other DC projects, but other characters premiered elsewhere in other Wildstorm books. Let's go to number 6, and it is X-Men Volume 1. It's really X-Men Volume 2 because it was entitled X-Men up until issue 141 and then became Uncanny. Right here, I got a 9/8. It is number 11, that famous Jim Lee cover. This is the last issue that Jim Lee did on the book. You get this book for $10 raw. Maybe probably, and it's always hovering right around $100 for a 9.8. If anyone's interested, let me know. And if we look at historical, the 9/8 sales, I mean, this is, it was around $100 for, it jumped up to 100 here and then up to 140 there. And then all of a sudden we said, oh, it's a comic boom. Let's all buy this book. Bam, jumps up to $360. And it has been coming down ever since and hovering around 100 pretty much for a year and a half, I would say. Maybe almost 2 years, about 2 years. Right, it had this early boom, and then it came down. It came down pretty quickly. The last few sales, again, hovering around 100. Why is this on the list? Jim Lee stands tall as one of the most popular comic book artists of all time. Recently, the artist announced he would open his commissions again after a 15-year hiatus. While the pricing may have surprised many in the community, it did shine a light back on the renowned artist. Jim Lee and Wolverine fans rushed to the aftermarket to pick up iconic pieces of his work. The price in this book are extremely reasonable for such an iconic comic book cover. Also, it's not a small print run. I mean, remember, issue number 1 of the X-Men series had, I don't know how many million copies sold. So they were still churning out bajillions by issue number 11. So there are plenty out there and plenty of X-Men collectors who are collecting this. I come across this book in collections all the time at, show. I mean, I could almost every weekend probably pick up a high grade copy of that book. Let's move on to number 5. And number 5, here it is again, Doom number 1. It's been on the list week after week. And it's, floating around $30, cooling off a little bit, under 100 for a 9/8. And remember, I talked about when this book first came to market, be careful. Don't be the first one to jump in to buy a 9/8. And there are just 16 more books on the census, and 15 more of them are 9/8s. And we can look here. This isn't really that indicative, but somebody paid 172. Bless their heart. Everything else 90 to 120 in that range. I think 120 is a little high, but somebody really wanted it, I guess. We can't get this off the list. Doom continues to trend between our top 10 and runners-up. Doom's popularity as a character sent this book flying on the aftermarket. However, what fueled its staying power, the subtle, almost hidden tribute to late rapper MF Doom. The text on the first page of the issue is directly pulled from his lyrics. It's been nearly 2 months, and the book is still trending strongly. Let's go to number 4, Wolverine 88. First meeting of Wolverine and Deadpool, this iconic Adam Kubert cover. This is the deluxe edition. There are also where is it? Not the original book that came out. There's the newsstand, which was deluxe, which is more expensive, and the direct, which I think is more expensive in 9/8 because it was on a weaker paper stock. But again, we look at this book, upwards of $100. You can probably get something for under 100 in high grade. But now look, 400 plus for a 9/8, and it's still over 8590 is still gradable and over $100. So that's kind of interesting. The movie's 8 days away. What's going to happen after the movie comes and goes? I think this book will have staying power. It might not remain as strong because these are 2 iconic characters. Their popularity is enhanced by the movie, but not carried by the movie, if you understand what I mean. So, and this is a book that's, I mean, look at this. Look how it's held value, right? It was around $100, right? And then boom comes and we jump up to 762, and it came back down and then back up, and we have them both in the movie and yada, yada, yada. And it's been in the 400 plus range. Now, what I will say is what I found, my personal experience with this book, and I've only submitted one, but there is a card insert a cardstock insert that's about a third the height of the book in the top that creates an indent. I could not get the indent out. So in some cases, even though the book was otherwise pristine, could not, whatever I tried, could not get the indent out. And that makes the higher grade a little more challenging to get the 9.8. I got, I think, a 9.4. It would have been 9.6, 9.8 if I, probably a 9.8 if I got that out. Have you heard? Deadpool and Wolverine's release date is right around the corner. Early ticket sale reports show that it is on trajectory to break many records in a short couple of weeks. Fans are rushing out to pick up iconic covers of the duo, and this book is one of the best. It depicts the first meeting and fight between Deadpool and Wolverine, sporting a phenomenal cover. The $1.95 price variant has been a top pick for collectors in the past few weeks. We tracked 25 copies sold and a 7-day growth trend of 14% with a high sale 425 for CGC 9.8 copy. And then they have text from the Doom book. So yeah, it's still strong. I think it's going to remain strong. I think it'll come down a little bit. You know, instead of selling 4 something, it might be 3 something in a couple of months. I think I have one going out to CGC today. So I'm not sure. Do I have one? No, I don't have one. I don't think. I have a collection where there should be one. I haven't found it yet, but whatever. Let's go to number 3 on the list, and we continue in the same vein, and it's New Mutants 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. And again, we see high-grade copies. You're going to have to pay hundreds, and a 9.8 is over $1,000. Will it stay over $1,000 after the movie? I'm not sure. I hope so, because I'm sending 3 copies out. I think I probably like a 9.2, 9.4, a 9.6, and a 9.8 are the 3 copies. I'm hoping for a 9.8 on one of them. I'd actually have it in a pre-screen. So there's no surprise as to why this has been the talk of the MCU for the past year, since the only film being released by Marvel this year, not Sony. It's generated a ton of buzz. The rumor is that Deadpool will reset the MCU in a major way, paving the path for a new plan in the cinematic universe. Deadpool really is Marvel Jesus. Then this book will be the holy grail of his legend. Many are counting on this movie putting this book out of reach and grabbing it before the fire gets too hot. I think it's going to stay strong. This is not a book that's this is not Vengeance 1 or Eternals 1 that's going to just completely plummet after the movie. I think it's going to stay strong, and this is a book that everybody wants to, and I think more and more people, more and more collectors are saying, well, I want this in a 9.8 because, there are enough of them out there. If we looked at the census, I didn't look at the census on this. There are 25,000 copies, 4,400 in a 9.8. Now, since you will grade this lower, it makes sense maybe down to the 8.0 or so. But there's still 4,400. That's a decent amount. But there are probably more people that want this than there are 9.8s. Let's go to number 3 on the list. Number 2, I'm sorry. And it's Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu Zero. This came out last week. It's the Alessandro Cappuccio secret 1 per store variant. This is now selling for about $40, a $60 sale. Not yet in a 9.8, of course, because it came out last week. And it seems that the surprise variants have been the trend in comics for 2024. Marvel's secret 1 per store secret variants have always been extremely popular and done well in the aftermarket. Moon Knight is no exception. The new Moon Knight series is a highly anticipated book, and this prequel has drawn many eyes to it. However, no one expected a secret variant to be released under the radar. Immediately picked up speed and value, making it one of the best-selling books in the aftermarket this past week. It's cool. It's, but again, it's brand new. Be very careful when the graded books come to market, because even though it's a 1 per store, so there's less of a selection, there will be books coming to the aftermarket, graded books. Let's go to number 1. And this is a book I did not expect to occupy the number 1 spot. It is X-Force number 1. The unofficial appearance of the first cameo appearance of Tyler Dayspring, the first appearance of G.W. Bridge. And it's the first comic to be sold polybagged with a trading card. Now, for the most part, graded sales are tough on this because this had the most value if it was polybagged with a Deadpool card. You could see the back of the polybag, and you could see if it was Shatterstar or Deadpool or whoever else. Everybody wanted Deadpool. And it's going, look, a near mint copy sold for $1, $6, $4, 13, 9.8s jumping up to 75. And I didn't select it. Here we go. X-Force 1. There are only 2,800 graded copies, 633 and a 9.8. That's because it's not worth much in a 9.8. And, it's worth about, even recently, right? What's it? I mean, it's kind of always been in this $60 to $70 range, other than, like, I don't know, Cable in Deadpool, maybe Deadpool 2 maybe jumped it up. Wow. In 2018, it jumped up to $287. And there were a few sales. It was in the $200 range from July 2017 for a year. That's interesting. That's one of those aberrations in the market that's not related to the comic boom, but it's GW Bridge. Everybody's excited about GW Bridge. While anticipation for Deadpool and Wolverine is building toward the release date, Captain America Brave New World has been putting out tons of news/rumors. This past week, a rumor was released about Giancarlo Esposito's character in the film. In case you missed it, the actor was cast late. And leaked set photos of the reshoot showed Esposito in what looked like the military mercenary outfit. Did he have pouches? I think he had pouches, which would explain the connection, or at least the thought behind the connection. Fans are trying to pinpoint who the actor could be playing, but cannot find answers, as until a known insider tweeted that is the character George Washington, GW Bridge. The character was a mercenary group called the Wild Pack, led by Cable. Didn't Silver Sable lead the Wild Pack? Whatever. He later went to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. Does this mean Esposito will be with the MCU for more than just this movie? I would think so. Who knows? The only thing we know for certain is that the rumors caused a huge spike in the interest for this cover and all its card variants. I couldn't tell you how many copies of this I have sitting around. And this is another book that this weekend, if I just go to flea markets or a show, I'll find it easily. I'm pretty positive there were copies in this recent collection I got. So, that's what we have for our top 10 list. Let's look at the runners up, because that's always a little bit interesting to look through and maybe give us a look at some other books. Geiger, number 1. The Ghost Machine, gearing up. Sonic the Hedgehog, number 60. This is a Natalie Fordrain retailer incentive, 1 per 10. So this is a new book. Action Comics 1066 was on the top 10 last week with its Lobo cover. The Thor Decapitated Head, the Crime Suspense Stories homage is in there. Terrifics, number 1. Once again on the list. Again, I mean, maybe so because we saw Mr. Terrific in costume. A Vicious Circle. Comic-centered IPs recently optioned to the big screen with Ryan Coogler attached as the producer. So that's interesting. Then that kind of, sitting down here in the second list of 10. Detective Comics 1086, the Sebastian Fiumara variant. The Infinity Dime, that was on the top 10. Watchmen, number 1, that animated series coming out. And number 20, Biker Mice from Mars. There is a later this month, we're getting a 3-issue limited series to coincide the launch of the action figures. It's a great time for communities to collide as hype for the series is growing by the day. Naturally, some opted to revisit the introduction to the IP and experiences back in the day. So I had never heard of this book until I found it in a collection a couple of years ago. And I'm like, wow, that's worth something. That's going to do it for that top 10 list. Again, a couple of books that are readily available, easy to find. Maybe I should pull all my X-Force ones. I don't even know where they are. They're not like a book that I put in a specific place or like I spec'd on. And who was spec'ing on GW Bridge? I don't know. At any rate, I'd like to thank you all for stopping by. I really appreciate it. You can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.